Okay, and I've got the microphone going, which I keep forgetting to do, but thankfully I forgot this time. And we're now live, ready to go. That's there, good. I will need to go and grab something to drink while we get everything ready for tonight. Sadly, no Evan, no Sophronia tonight. They are busy with other things, but we can go ahead and dig in to the anime and manga of the week. Welcome, Burning One. Actually, that it's funny you should say that. There's a bit of a news story on that very topic tonight. So just be ready for that. We'll have something a little different, a little unusual. It's been a weird week for me, as you probably saw from the YouTube video. But that's okay. We'll have a fun time here tonight. Lots of stuff to dig through. Lots of anime and manga and lots of episodes. So we've got a review, digging deeper. We've got the news. We're talking about cooking. The whole shebang. We will be pouring into tonight, and should be a fun one tonight. We will see. I keep forgetting to do the announcement video. I need to figure out a better way of reminding myself to do all that. Before I forget, let me close down some of these windows just so there's a little less going on. That is sort of first thing up there. I need to play around with some of the options and some of the things. Oh, Your Lie in April. I've heard good things about Your Lie in April. What do you think about that one, Burning One? Do you like that one? Do you like April, so to speak? We had March Comes In Like a Lion and Your Lie in April, so I'm waiting for the May show. Surely there's an anime with May in the title. I think of other anime with months in the title. Not a lot. It's interesting. You'd think there'd be more having to do with seasons, Japan being traditionally a very seasonally aware culture, if you will. A lot of poetry about the seasons, a lot of seasonal things kind of worked into culture. Yeah, most anime have music, I believe. All right, let's go ahead and get started with the news and chug along with that. Got the news here. I need to pull. Oops. Need to throw up the news item there if my device will let me do so. And do that. And we will do and dive into the newsy bits. This up here. Stand by. There we go. How to get that? That's about right. That works. Okay. Oh, gotta have the hat on. Can't do the news without the hat, right? Gotta have the hat. Hats are important. Welcome to the latest anime news for the week ending June 1st, 2018. We get to continue the trend of new anime announcements. We've got, get this, 6 new anime coming. Pretty exciting. Let's start with the high concept anime of the bunch. The Promised Neverland starts out as a sweet slice of life story about kids in an orphanage. Isn't that nice? Until you see the numbers tattooed on each kid's neck. It's probably not a spoiler to reveal that the kids are headed for a less than sweet fate unless they do something about it. If you don't want to wait until the anime's premiere, which will be all the way in January, you can find the manga in English, digitally, and in print through Viz. So keep an eye out there. So let's do something a little lighter, shall we? Let's move on to the announcement that's the most, well, anime of the lot. Girly Air Force by Koji Natsumi tells a weird science fiction story. Aliens invade, they're unstoppable, blah, blah, blah. So mankind does the most reasonable thing and creates a bunch of fighter jets that happen to look and behave exactly like cute girls. No news on air date, but it will be animated at the anime studio Satellite. So keep an eye out for that one. While we're talking about cute shows, Kaguya-sama Love is War focuses on the two highest-ranked genius students at a prestigious school who have, of course, fallen in love. The twist is that they're basically both tsunderes. Their only option is to figure out a way to make the other person confess first. No word on when the anime is coming, but the manga sure is popular, already 9 volumes and 100 chapters long, with several million copies sold. So they're definitely pushing that one. The sports genre will see some activity as well. Feel the Wind turns its camera on an unusual aspect of Japanese culture you may not be aware of, foot races. The Hakone Ekiden is one of the most popular, and this is a real thing. It's a 2-day relay race run over a 135-mile course that's broadcast on national television. This really happens. Feel the Wind is about two boy friends, totally no BL implications whatsoever. Yeah, but it's about them deciding to run the race together as part of the relay. So that's coming. Separately, do you like Pop Team Epic? I honestly don't get it, but it's obviously popular. To nobody's surprise, it's getting a second season. Unfortunately, we don't know anything else about it. That said, can we ever truly be prepared for a season of Pop Team Epic? I don't know. The final anime announcement for this week is a bit weird. It's an adaptation of Joshiochi, A Girl Fell from the Second Floor, which is an adult manga, but here's the thing. They're going to produce 2 versions of it. One will be an ecchi anime and broadcast on TV, while the other will be not work safe and only available streaming. The story concept starts with a young man living in a ratty apartment where one night a woman literally falls through his ceiling onto his bed, onto the roof into his bed, and wacky hijinks ensue. So that is coming at some point. Why not? Finally, if you like rock music, and the rock music specifically of The Pillows, which was featured in Furry Curry, as well as Beck Mongolian Chop Squad and Moonlight Mile, but you may live in the US, good news. Adult Swim is sponsoring a US tour of The Pillows. They'll be in Massachusetts, New York, Washington, Oregon, and California in July. Check their website for details. That's the news. See you next week. Have a good week. All right. Yeah, Girly Air Force is very much, very much sounds like a Kandai Collection and those sorts of concepts. Definitely very popular these days. Girls as objects, kind of Umu Musume as well. Kind of weird, but that's the news. Nothing too shocking there. But cool stuff. I always like seeing anime news announcements, right? Because it's anime news announcements, and it's always neat to see more anime coming, and a variety of stuff. Some dramatic stuff, some comedic stuff, some romantic stuff. Everything's happening all at once, which is always good. All right. You know what I might do? I'm going to actually do some giveaways tonight, giving away some stuff to folks in the chat room. Let's see what I'm going to give away. What do I have over here in the giveaway pile? I might do that. And I probably won't do that. Maybe is that the first? Oh, it's all of it. Oh, that's tempting. Hey, Game Escape. Hey, Tonto. Good to see you both. I've got all of Gasaraki, which is a really remarkable anime series. Sort of a serious mecha series with this dream team of creators, I believe. A whole bunch of amazing anime mecha creators were involved in Gasaraki and tried to be more realistic than your average mecha series. So I'm going to give this away at some point tonight. I'm also going to give away, where is this? Okay, well, why not? I've got the first and like the 10th volume of Rurouni Kenshin TV here. So you can kind of jump from the very beginning to kind of well into Rurouni Kenshin with these. If you're interested in my favorite shonen series of all time, Kenshin would be it. So you get the disc as well as Hey Fisher, as well as, you know, the pretty typical, it popped out, that's weird, you know, the DVD itself and all the stuff it came with, which was not much. Media Blaster's release, so pretty simple. It's really just chapter listings here, and then basically ads for, well, other DVD things released by Media Blasters. So Magic Users Club, Earthian, Demon Fighter Kocho, which I've never heard of, Sailor Victory, which is not like Sailor Moon. It's completely different. Twin Signal, and another volume of Rurouni Kenshin. And they recommend, for release schedule, contact us at this phone number, extension 228. So yeah, kind of running on the lower end of the spectrum there. But I will be giving away, I think, both of these tonight in different areas. Different times during the night. But now I think I might dig into the review for the night, kind of while the voice is still happy. The review tonight is an odd one. Not many folks have heard of it. Oh, I need a hat. 1 second. Hey, Jay. See, I gotta have the right thing on to do this review. It's pretty darn important for this particular review here. I just gotta pull it up. Although it doesn't want to pull up. Technology problems. Please stand by. Relaunch our app and go into it. So we'll do the review and then again, dramatic reading. I want to talk a bit about Hollywood and sort of Western franchises that we think would be great adapted into anime, right? So we've always wanted to see like the Star Wars anime, although folks have done, you know, anime style Star Wars clips. But what would we love to see anime do, like a proper 13, 26 episode anime series that is like canon set in one of those things. So let's do the review. So Japan made a Western. Not only that, it's anime. I'm talking about Early Reins, a 45-minute OVA from 2003 about a group of young women on a train in the Wild West. That train comes under attack. A shootout commences. The girls grab guns and, well, we get a Western. The story itself gives us a pleasant variety of characters, about half a dozen girls of various personalities and temperaments, plus a handful of side characters. There's just enough to require some attention without completely overwhelming you. On the other hand, the relatively large cast and relatively short runtime means we don't go into much depth on any of these characters. You're not going to absolutely adore them, but there's enough there. It's fine. The animation is effective by OVA standards. There's plenty of movement, but rarely any amazing, over-the-top animation and no stylized movement that I could notice. No complaints, but nothing to write home about either. You know, one of those things where it's fine. The voice acting in both English and Japanese is similarly effective, if unspectacular. On the one hand, you don't hear gratingly over-the-top accents, kind of like mine. But on the other, nobody will win any awards here. On the gripping hand, this is a fast-paced action romp kind of story. So the actors don't have much depth or complexity of characterization to work with in the first place. They're kind of doing their best, and like with the animation, it's fine. Similarly, the music punctuates the mood appropriately, but never quite rises to the level of a classic soundtrack. Okay, I know what y'all are wondering. How many things do they get wrong? Where does it fall completely apart and not feel like a Western at all? It doesn't. The entire thing feels like a Western. No weird anachronisms, no Japanese culture accidentally included anywhere. This could totally be an episode of a live-action Western TV series, or expanded a bit into a movie, and honestly, Americans just wouldn't bat an eye. Overall, Early Reins is a fun, fast-paced little Western that gives you exactly what I think most people want out of a Western. An action story with clearly defined characters and an easily grasped plot. What more could you ask for? So that is Early Reins. Short but sweet. Much like Early Reins. Again, it's like 40 minutes long. There's not that much to it. But it works. It's fine. All right, let me get my little teleprompter working here. Good. All right, so I'm looking at the chat room. And I think I'm going to go ahead and do the first giveaway right now. And I think that's going to be for Kenshin. So I'm going to give away both of these discs of Kenshin to whoever is in at the top of the chat room in the next 10 seconds. So in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Game Escape, congratulations. You get some Kenshin. So, well done, Game Escape. You are right there, and I will ship that out probably tomorrow morning. And that will go out to you. Let me just double check. Gotta check something real quick. Do I still have... Gotta just pull up my stuff here. Okay. Game Escape, it's been a little while. Are you in the chat room? I'm sorry, are you in the Discord? I don't see a Game Escape in the chat room, and I'm terrible with these names. Or in the Discord, rather. Where are you in the Discord? Always confusing there. Do I have your address? Yeah, okay, yes. So you are in the Discord. If you could go ahead and shoot me. Okay, yeah, so whenever you get a chance, Game Escape, just log in and private message me with your mailing address, and I will go ahead and ship this out to you. And that will, like I said, if you get it to me tomorrow, by tomorrow I'll ship it out then. If not, then I'll just ship it out, next week, whatever. Hey, camera, be happy. What's the... Oh, here we go again. One moment. Every so often, we gotta reconfigure that. There we go. Was I clear during the review, or was it out of focus? Seems to be having some problems tracking my head, which is always annoying. So, again, I'll be giving away Gasaraki later on tonight. Don't worry about that, everyone. See, that's okay. That's weird. All right, so that was the dramatic reading. I'm sorry, that was the review. So I have a dramatic reading. So I have the great debate. I have digging deeper as well, actually. Which might dig in. I was clear? Good. Thank you, Jay. Good to verify. Let me go ahead and dig into... I'll do the digging deeper, because that's quick. Oh, yeah, I keep forgetting to do the interstitials. Dang it. Well, we'll do the interstitial for that one. So, Do I have a thing? No, I don't. Make sure that's good. Yeah. So I want to do a whole set of segments on the Tenchi Muyo franchise and kind of explain that to people. Not all tonight, but we'll start on it tonight. I need to... Sometimes these things just get a little unhappy. And we'll dig into that. Hopefully this will work out a little better than the one before. I keep rewriting it, and it just doesn't quite make me happy. But see how this goes. Welcome! Tenchi Muyo was a huge anime franchise that had its heyday in the mid-90s. It's one of those franchises that crossed a lot of genres and managed to get a lot of them right. Adventure, comedy, action, a little character development, and a little romance. The franchise focuses on Tenchi Masaki, a teenage boy who ends up living in a house full of cute alien girls, all of whom are interested in him in various ways. This may sound very familiar if you're an anime fan. Well, that's because Tenchi helped create that trope. And because it was one of the first, it actually doesn't feel derivative when you watch it. Okay, you might ask, why are these cute girls interested in Tenchi? Because he has awesome powers, and he can wield a lightsaber-like sword and do all sorts of other cool things if he could just calm himself down enough to actually use those powers. Of course, this also attracts the attention of all sorts of entities, from space pirates to ancient alien beings, and that forms the central conflict. These sort of cute girls around Tenchi and then all the villains around them. And that's one of the reasons it's a little hard to explain Tenchi, because it crosses a lot of genres. Is it a romantic comedy? Well, Tenchi's not interested in any of the girls, really. Is it an action-adventure show? Yeah, but a lot of the episodes are just straight-up comedies. Is it a science fiction show? Yes, certainly, but it's not really about that at all. Is it a coming-of-age story? Well, there's not really enough time spent on Tenchi himself for it to qualify as that, exactly. This is made even more difficult by the fact that as the franchise went on, several of its series rebooted the franchise. Yes, they were doing that in the 90s too, using the same characters with new backstories. There's really no attempt at a unified timeline in Tenchi, but then it doesn't matter that much anyway. This franchise is all about the characters' personalities and how they interact. What's also interesting is that Tenchi is widely considered to be the first proper harem series. While it's not the first show to feature a guy surrounded by cute girls, it codified the trope. Everyone knew what it was post-Tenchi. But it's not your typical harem show, though. But I have a whole other video on that topic. Overall, Tenchi's a trailblazer that also managed to do multiple genres well. It might not be right for you, but it's an impressive achievement that's worth checking out. Okay, that's a reasonable introduction to the franchise. And like I said, I'll be recording other videos on this on other nights, but I think that's a pretty good introduction to that. If anyone has any questions about Totally Agreed Tonto, Tenchi and Ryoko Forever, which was made semi-canon, later on in the franchise. Yeah, if anyone has any Tenchi questions, I'll be happy to answer them. While you guys are thinking about that, review more Digimon. I've been thinking about doing that, actually. That's a good way of putting it, Jay. It's a hybrid genre anime. It is everything all at once. Yeah, the problem with that, Ricky, is that I've only really seen the first 3 Digimon series, and then the first 6 movies. So the movies for Adventure, O2, and Tamers. And I haven't really dug into Digimon beyond that, so I need to fix that at some point. Or I'd like to fix that at some point. But there's just not that much else for me to review. But I could go back and do full scale. things. I do have a few videos on Digimon, if you haven't already seen them on the channel. Just search for Digimon. But I like that idea. Maybe I will go back and like do a proper review of Digimon Adventure, O2, and Tamers. I'm just not, Savers didn't do anything for me. Frontier didn't do anything for me. So we'll see. Yeah, it'd be nice to do that. Yeah, you're right, Jay. And anime is generally better at hybrid genre shows than other mediums. But they're not that, they're hard to do right. So you often see them, trying, and it kind of falls apart. Because it's hard to do a good drama. It's hard to do a good comedy. It's hard to do good romance. And doing all of them at once is exponentially harder. So the fact that anime does it, frequently is pretty amazing. Ranma is sort of an action comedy rather, with bits of romance. Yeah, I have enjoyed pretty much every Tenchi series. There's been something to pull out of every Tenchi series. There's something I've enjoyed out of every Tenchi series, every Tenchi thing I've seen. Some of them I've enjoyed more than others, but a lot of that too is just sort of tone and likes. Actually, funnily enough, for the dramatic reading, I go back and so 20 years ago, Shin Tenchi Moyo was coming out. New Tenchi in Tokyo, as we know it over here. And boy, was that not popular. People are screaming about that on the forums for when they're talking about Tenchi. And it's just hilarious to watch that they're just, oh, this is the worst thing ever. And it's like, Tenchi in Tokyo was kind of a low point for the franchise, but also certainly not the worst thing they ever made. You just have to kind of realize that this show is not for you. This is meant to be a hyperactive, goofy comedy, and very over the top in a way that Tenchi typically was not. Tenchi's weird, right? Tenchi is this science fantasy comedy. I don't know, Jay. It's always hard to pin down what actually causes a big change like that. I should switch back to the main, so I know where to cut. I think there's so many forces at work on any given industry that who knows what is pushing things one way or the other. Certainly, anime retrenched in the 2000s, whatever we call that decade, the first decade of the 2000s, where they tried to be safer, they tried to be more straightforward and simple, where the 90s was much more experimental, much more wacky. There's a lot more money in the industry and much less in the 2000s, so you retreat to safe, simple sitcoms, which makes sense. And we're starting to see them, that's been, we're over that at this point, fortunately. But let me see here. So I need to grab some water. So let me go ahead and show you guys a bit of a panel video. And I'll be back in just a few minutes while I'm going to make some tea and grab some water. And again, think about what American franchises you'd love to see made into anime. I'll be back to that in a minute. Yeah, and I'd say Urusei Yatsura was probably the first big, harem anime concept show. Yep, so I'll be back in just a few minutes.
All right, so how much does it cost to actually buy a DVD or Blu-ray over in Japan for the fans? So Cowboy Bebop was we released a couple years ago, $85 per DVD, 3 episodes per disc. G Gundam was released for $375 for the entire series. Hanasako Iroha, which is a good example of a reasonably successful but not hugely big show, $77 for 3 episodes. Madoka Magica, big hit, so $62 for 2 episodes on DVD, and basically $40 an episode on Blu-ray. By the way, that CD is usually an image CD, so it is one of the characters singing a song. It's not a soundtrack. Yeah, so when I see otaku in America complaining that anime is expensive, I can't sympathize too much. Why is it that expensive? It's a historical accident. Basically, when VHS tapes came in Japan, there was this sense that, I'm sure you all have seen photographs of Japanese apartments. They're small. So there was the expectation that folks were not going to buy VHS tapes. The rental market was where folks really invested. The problem was otaku were crazy. Otaku, a show would come out, and otaku would call the rental company and say, I must own a copy of Space Battleship Yamato. Sell me your VHS tape of it. And they would say, we're buying industrial, commercial quality tapes that cost like $80 because they're meant to be reused over and over and over again. And the otaku would say, I don't care, I will buy it. And so they did. And so that became the going price for anime, is the very high price that they were willing to pay. And in fairness to the industry, they have tried lowering the price. And what would happen was they would lower the price by, say, 20%, and sales would increase by maybe 3%. And the reason is, sad to say, there are only so many people in Japan who are going to buy Kill la Kill, right? Or any given anime series. There's not a huge demand for anime outside of the otaku market that's going to jump on these shows if they were just somewhat less expensive. So it hasn't changed. And the reality is, this is how a lot of that money gets recouped for the industry, is those prices. Also, it's important to note, anime doesn't sell that great in Japan, versus what we tend to think. So the year Attack on Titan came out, it only sold 52,000 copies. Kill la Kill sold less than 12,000 copies the year it came out. Love Live, 30,000. Samurai Flamenco, 680 copies. The average anime series in 2013 only sold 5,500 copies. Because again, there aren't that many people buying anime. There's not that, the audience is not that huge, is the reality. And it's another reason why prices have to be that high, just to recoup that cost.
Okay, clearly I need to do longer segments and slice them into smaller, or into larger chunks. Because I need a little more time than that to do my stuff. I'm running in here with wet hands, but we're back. We're good. Everything's fine. And so that's done. Let's go ahead and we can do the great debate here in a bit. Unless you guys have ideas. But I like doing the dramatic reading. Let's go ahead and do the dramatic reading. Yeah, do a dramatic reading. Let's do the dramatic reading. The following is an anime post from 20 years ago. The following is an anime post from 20 years ago about the impending Disney release of Nausicaa the Valley of Wind and Kiki's Delivery Service. And let's now go ahead and kick into that. I'm just going to change a little bit of the visual stuff. And so I think we'll do him. Oh, shoot. Shoot. I'm glad I caught that. Nearly had somebody's full name in here. Didn't want to do that. Cool. Wow. I thought I was the only one who experienced the pleasure of the family bath. I used to remember me and Dad and my sister or brother used to taking a bath together when we were 4 or 5. Call that being warped for life. I can't see why no one in America hasn't done that either. No, don't do that. Ah, dang it. No, don't do that. Sorry, 1 second. All right, we'll get there. I think Disney sure screwed up its end of the bargain with Miyazaki's classics. I've seen better trash on children's films from Eastern Europe that could make any American parent scream. I think we should boycott these botched up Disney dub releases with the intention of following Miyazaki's vision. Either that or having to listen to one person plea to ban Kiki's Delivery Service. That's good. Whoa, now wait a minute. How can you say the Disney botched up anything? Nothing has been put out yet, except for Kiki, and that's at special showings, and I have not heard one word that Kiki was terrible. Mind explaining what you think is wrong? Considering that Kiki was the only one that they've dubbed so far, don't you think that you are stating opinions rather early in the game? Disney hasn't botched anything yet. So please explain in detail what you think Disney is doing wrong. Be glad that someone is releasing Miyazaki's films at all. According to the deal with Ghibli, Disney cannot alter one bit of the movies at all, save for adding credits, some music to fit the American audiences. So Disney can't screw up. The translated scripts must pass through Ghibli Associates before anything is done. Kiki's script was reviewed by the staff of Ghibli even before casting was done for the voices. So if you want to gripe, Grip to Ghibli! They have final say over everything! That's actually it. So yeah, folks getting a little over the top, a little worried about Kiki and stuff. Okay. There's a little bit of whistle wetting on the voice. Not a lot of crazy stuff in the anime world 20 years ago this week. That was about the best I could find. All right. So let's talk about this. Welcome everyone to The Great Debate, where today we're going to talk about the question of what Western mediums, what Western franchises, if I can use my words, we would like to see adapted into anime. And I'm not talking about, an illustration. I'm talking about a full 26 episode anime series that's canon. It's absolutely part of the franchise. Jay Biz in the chat room threw out one a little bit earlier, Total Recall. It's absolutely right. It would make for a fantastic anime adaptation. We can do an adaptation. We can do a reboot or just kind of an anime version of a thing. That's fine. But the thing is to focus on, a real thing, not just them sort of taking it and running with it in some crazy way. I'd love to see Doctor Who in anime. I've always felt that the imagination and the weirdness of Doctor Who would fit that really well. I know there's a Doctor Who animation guy did, I think, John Pertwee anime version, and a little short animated film, which looks great. But I'd love to see a multi-episode anime Doctor Who. You could just go wild. Have the TARDIS flying all over the place, all sorts of crazy aliens, and just really make Doctor Who feel like, I think, what the writers imagine is going to be on screen when they're writing Doctor Who, but it rarely actually looks that way in the show itself. That's one of the things I would like to see. They could certainly do Game of Thrones. I mean, anime has no problem with the violence or the nudity, so it wouldn't surprise me really to have a Game of Thrones. We had Highlander Search for Vengeance, which certainly has a kind of a Game of Thrones-esque vibe. It's obviously, that's not cyberpunk, it's post-apocalyptic, but still. Yeah, Game Escape, Fifth Element. That's a great choice. Fifth Element definitely has those anime vibes. To that point, I think Star Wars. I think Star Wars fits anime very well. The lightsaber battles are very anime. The prequel and sequel ones. Actually, more the prequel ones. The sequel ones aren't that flashy or crazy the way the prequel ones were. I feel the prequel lightsaber battles were very anime inspired. But yeah, those sort of huge space opera. Obviously, things like Valerian, I think, probably should have been anime. That makes sense. So Jay brings up Star Trek. I don't know that Star Trek would be an ideal thing for anime. And I'm trying to figure that out. I'm trying to kind of dig into it because it is very talky. It is very quiet and kind of folks talking back and forth. Where I think just what you can do in anime gives you a lot more to work with. So I think Trek would work very well if you went a little more spectacular, a little bigger. So like the movies, that kind of tone, that kind of feel, I think would work better for a Star Trek anime as opposed to, Star Trek TV series, I think. Yeah, and Tron is obviously, Tron Legacy obviously has an anime vibe to an extent, but you're absolutely right. I think Tron is just crying out for an anime adaptation. It would be hard just because of the weird visuals of it. Yeah, I mean, anime has got all sorts of, anime can do fantasy cheaply. Relatively speaking, right? You can draw a dragon as easily as you can draw a car. So why not just do things like Willow, Crawl, Dragon Slayer, all movies I love. I was watching the very cheesy Ator the Fighting Eagle the other night. And it's a cheap, cheesy fantasy film. It looks so much better animated. Because you don't have, cheap special effects. You don't have cheap masks. Everything can look right. Oh, interesting Game Escape. Yeah, something dealing with kind of cross-cultural stuff. With, the differences between Japanese and American culture. You certainly get that in the live action movies. There are a fair number of Japanese. Hideko the bus conductress is a famous, rather lost in translation style thing. From what I've not seen all of Lost in Translation, but definitely Hideko the bus conductress and other things like that you get in live action. Not so much in anime, which would be interesting to see, because anime can do slice of life so well. You're absolutely right. To that point, I think I would be interested in seeing, I don't know, something, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I think Sabrina would be ideal for anime, right? And I believe there's an animated series of Sabrina somewhere, but I think that would just, that just fits in that they have, it's a magical girl series, right? Let's do some Sabrina anime. Why not? It's kind of funny. I would love to see more sort of shoujo series done in the Western world. I'd love to see American live action adaptations of like shoujo slice of life romantic series. Lost in Space. Awesome thought. Yes, Lost in Space is just crying out for that, because the original series looks so of its time, and every adaptation has tried to update that, but you need that kind of weirdly retro with modern, which anime tends to do very well. Yeah, Breaking Bad is basically live action Death Note. You're absolutely right. That's very true. I love to see Ringworld, which was kind of the inspiration for Halo, and it's a little story about a ring world, and it is a sort of big budget space, not quite space opera, epic space adventure story in this wild science fictional world that's also kind of forgotten. Like, it was built and then left, and there are all these civilizations living on it that have forgotten that. I love to see Ringworld done. Firefly, yeah. So Dune, Van Riley, is the dream. I think Dune belongs more in animation than live action, because Dune is meant to be so far removed from our experience and our relations to technology and our relations to each other, while also being obviously a metaphor for certain things in our culture and our civilization. But Dune shouldn't feel like people on sets. It shouldn't feel, it should feel kind of alien at that level, while still being very relatable and human, which again, anime does all the time very well. Having that weird technology everyone's just kind of familiar with and everyone just uses, while also telling very human stories, very straightforward stories. I think that'd be awesome. Yeah, Dune is just crying out for that. I'm actually looking at my sci-fi stacks now. Actually, there's a David Brin's Uplift series, or series of novels, never been adapted into live action. And it's set in a future where humans come across there's a vast galaxy of aliens, and basically every species is uplifted or brought into sentience by another species. So you get kind of adopted by a higher level species and then brought up into sentience. And every species has done this all the way back to like this founder race. And then they come across humans that were not uplifted, like they spontaneously arose to intelligence. And so it's about the crew of a starship that is some of them are humans, some of them are dolphins, which they've uplifted into sentience. And then there's other stories with part human, part simian, like monkey crews. And so it's kind of dealing with this very wild sci-fi universe, because you have these cultures that go out and look for various alien races and kind of find these monkey-like animals here and these lizard-like aliens there, and then very deliberately genetically engineer them up to be a useful sentient race. And you do that, and you get something really, really remarkable. And so you can do that in anime, because you can have all these weird character designs, all these weird aliens, and you can have, dolphins as characters and monkeys as characters, which would be hideously expensive. Like you couldn't, you'd have to be Planet of the Apes to do that and spend $100 million, whereas you can do that in anime. Boom. What do you guys think of like I know it's not quite science fiction, but like the John Wick kind of stories, the the Bourne movies. Those sort of James Bond-esque action things. I think those would work pretty well in anime. Leave Extraordinary Gentlemen. Yeah, I think that would work because LXG has this problem that, again, it's that anachronism problem where it's supposed to be this melding of these classic characters with real life, and I think that works better in animation. Hey, Yujiro. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, yeah. They did a cartoon of the Toxic Avengers, which was, a very R-rated movie, and which they did a Saturday morning cartoon of. And that kind of works. Expendables. Although Expendables kind of, it's all about the, seeing all of those 80s actors and 90s actors. But yeah, those sort of over-the-top, not over, those very slick action movies, I think might work well in anime. Or it might be one of those things where it's like, maybe those like diehards work better in live action because it is all about the coolness of seeing real people do those things. I don't know. Hard to say. And then you got the sci-fi things like AI, the one-offs where it's like that probably should have been anime. Where it's like, why did you spend $500 million on all these special effects when you could have just drawn them? Just seems like, not that you can always do that, but Dark Crystal anime, Tonto. That's yeah, that would be amazing. That would just blow my... One second. My heat pad keeps fizzing, which implies that something keeps dripping on it, which should not be the case. Okay, I think we're okay. That's weird. Sorry. Yeah, Jackie Chan Adventures was based... and I'm sure Jackie Chan Adventures was actually animated in Japan or Korea. Like, that must have been outsourced to some Korean studio. It just... it's too close to the style to be anything different, I think. But yeah, I mean, Jackie Chan Adventures is... I've always found that a weird choice for animation, though. Like, the whole point of Jackie Chan is that he's doing it. That it's literally him doing these crazy stunts. And then they make it all in animation where they can do anything. It's like, just odd. I don't know. Odd fit of things, right? I think Transformers would make a good... Oh, wait. Right? So yeah, that's the kind of interesting thing. G.I. Joe, I mean, we've had G.I. Joe kind of move into that more anime style with some of their more or less direct-to-video stuff. But I think G.I. Joe would really benefit from maybe a 2650 episode long anime run where you can just be PG-13 the entire time and really go hardcore action. I think that would work. I'm obviously showing my age, but that'd be pretty darn cool. Robotech? That'd make a good... Oh, right. No. Don't know. But Lord of the Rings. I think Lord of the Rings make great anime. Look at Record of Lodoss War is basically D&D anime, and that would work. You have the tick. Envelope Antelope THX 1138. You're right. That is just stylistically, visually screaming for an anime adaptation. Because then you can get across that feel. The problem THX always had is trying to get across this massive dystopian society. This idea that, all of Earth is living this way with that limited budget. And I think with anime, you can totally get that across. You get that across more in the special edition, which ironically does improve that movie quite a bit. I think THX 1138 is ideal. Not that Lucas will ever go back to that, I bet. What about Avatar? Like, not The Last Airbender, like Avatar, the James Cameron movie. What if that were anime? I mean, it is very anime in concept, right? Meeting of worlds, focus on nature. Like that feels... I mean, I think Cameron's Avatar would fit anime surprisingly well. And you could do multiple episodes, really delve into it. The movie is kind of simple, so actually delving into some of the complexities of that world and those relationships, I think would work well. Yeah, Battlestar. Either version too. I was actually rewatching some bits of the original Battlestar. Yeah, Cameron's Avatar is basically Princess Mononoke. just with naked blue people. Yeah, Battlestar Galactica I think would work great. I'd love to see them take on like the classic Battlestar style with the the all chrome Cylons and I was at the Museum of Science, a science fiction convention put on by a group trying to establish a science fiction museum in Washington, D.C. last weekend, and they had a little museum area there with a full 1979 Cylon sitting there with the eye going back and forth. And I was just thinking about, just quick tangent. So those of you who are familiar with the old Battlestar Galactica, and I think there was a reference to this in the new one, the basic Cylon Centurion is this mostly chrome thing. Imagine trying to light that to film it, without getting the camera reflected on it. That was crazy to try to do. Yeah, you're right, Van Riley. I think a lot of comic books would work better in anime. And in fact, you look at the Marvel and you look at I loved Iron Man: Rise of the Technovore. To me, that was a perfect match of style to concept, and you don't have to spend lots of money trying to figure out how to matte a CGI Iron Man suit onto a shot of a city. Right, you just animate it all. Stargate, yeah. Stargate, the more I think about Stargate, the more that feels anime. It is human problems with a big universe that still doesn't have to feel too crazy or wacky. Like you can tell your intimate human stories. You can also tell your big action stories, and those integrate really well. Yeah, I think Stargate would work really nicely. I like that a lot. And indeed, I think actually Babylon 5 is just like that. It is Babylon 5 should have been anime. Nah, it shouldn't have. But excuse me. That was a creak in the floor. That wasn't me. Yeah, I love to see Stargate. And you got something, we're talking about comic, Hellblazer, I think, would fit anime perfectly. The whole idea of a supernatural investigator, where you got the world of hell bubbling over into the real world. It's a lot of hentai actually, but also it's a natural fit. You can get the weird style, the weird feel of it. Would work really well. I've always thought Watchmen would have fit better as anime than a live action movie, or at least it's animated, right? Do it like your standard DC animated series. I think that would work well. And you got stuff like Transmetropolitan, the other kind of weird stuff. Yeah, exactly. Alan Moore hates those. I think they work really well. Totally. Jodorowsky's work, the Inkal, that's basically anime waiting to be made. I mean, it's more European animation. This would probably be European made. But hey. Yeah, they did the Blade Runner anime short, and that looked perfect, right? Like that fit into that. And obviously, anime has been pulling references from Blade Runner for quite a while, so it's not like it's hard for them to fit all that in. And granted, Alan Moore hates everything, so I think no matter what adaptation you'd make of Alan Moore, he would just spit all over it. But what can you do? Let's look back at the sci-fi and fantasy shelves. Ooh, Terry Pratchett. The Discworld novels. Anime. They've done live action, they've done animation, but the British animation industry just is not up to snuff to really get that across, I think. Same thing with live action, just you need a big budget. But goofy, comedic, high fantasy, anime would be all over that. It would look fantastic. It would be fun, right? You just really go nuts. What about The Expanse? That's tough. The Expanse is tough because Harry Potter. The Expanse is very hard science fiction. Obviously, you could do it in anime, but how they did the live action was so impressive. I don't know. Certainly could work. Yeah, I think Harry Potter would work in anime. I think the live action was, effective enough. But it'd be funny would be to see an anime studio take over The Expanse and do like the last couple of seasons all anime. Yeah, that's one way of solving the problem. Mm. Yeah, Trigun's basically Wild Wild West, but yeah, Wild Wild West would be a um, great connection. It's funny. I was talking about early Reins. I did Trigun. I'm trying to think of a bad anime western. Like when anime does westerns, the few times I've seen them, they've gotten it right. There's no weird cultural problems. You watch any anime set in America, and they usually get some stuff kind of weird. But usually, wild westerns are done pretty darn well in Japan. Oddly enough, I'm sure some folks in the comments will give me some what about this one? But I don't know. Wheel of Time in the fantasy world. That is such a big, sprawling story. Wild Arms. I saw the first episode of Wild Arms, and it was fun. It was a shonen series. It wasn't really Wild West. It was kind of an anime Wild West. It's more Dragon Ball Wild West, from what I recall. So it was fun, but it wasn't trying to really evoke, as I recall, and this was many years ago. It really wasn't trying to recall the Wild West aesthetic, extremely closely. But it was definitely matched that style properly. Yeah, Wheel of Time. Wheel of Time is this massive story. It's got weird fantasy. It's got weird magic, but it's got that human drama. Rocky. Yeah. Sports stories. I think if you're gonna do more Rocky stories, look at Megalobox. Look at Ashita no Joe. Look at pretty much any sports anime, and those are just really, really intense and they really pull you in. What are some of the other, Raging Bull? I think Raging Bull, it's not really a sports movie. Sports are involved and they're a theme, but it's really about it's not really about boxing per se. Death Race, yeah, which is basically Redline. Not really, but Redline definitely feels Death Race in genre. But yeah, Death Race 2000, that'd be great. And it would be a good series too, Death Race. A good 13-episode anime series, just racing through all these weird environments. Do it sort of Space Dandy like, where each episode can feel different, has different directors, all that. Yeah, Scorsese would absolutely direct an anime series. I could totally see him doing that. He'd come in and he'd tell them what to do. That'd be hilarious. It would be nuts, but he would do it. Yeah, The Godfather, totally. Yeah, it's a very Oshii film. Yeah, you're right. Oshii would do a really good Godfather, I think. The very slow, quiet pace, the long cuts. Wow, yeah, thank you. Envelope Antelope, you're absolutely right. Oshii basically is remaking The Godfather with every movie. Or definitely taking notes from The Godfather. That's funny. Spawn, yeah, they did the Spawn. When Spawn came out on American television, I remember so many people thought it was anime. Like, it was so different from traditional Western animation, and anime was always, dark and gritty. You do that. And people just were, oh yeah, you mean the Spawn anime? No, but okay, whatever. Big Bang Theory. Isn't that basically Genshiken? Right? I'm surprised we haven't had an anime adaptation of, like, Skyrim or Elder Scrolls. It seems like a natural fit to just license that out to an anime studio, let them do something which is really, it's fantasy. Like, just give them the world. They can tell whatever story they want within Elder Scrolls, and boom, you're done. Right? You could easily get financiers for it. It would tie into video games. That would be such a natural connection. Because, yeah, I'd love to see an anime Wolfenstein. Give me Wolfenstein in anime form. You know, the only problem is that they would spend a lot of time on the villains, kind of establishing why all the villains are doing what they're doing. Like anime often loves to establish its villains, and Wolfenstein is like, nah, they're just Nazis, just kill them. Although the new games have changed that, right? But give me anime Wolfenstein. You can't really make an anime out of Doom. There's just nothing there to latch onto without making something that's not Doom anymore. Doom is such a core gameplay experience. It just doesn't feel right. And I say that as someone who watched the original Doom live action movie starring The Rock in theaters and was thoroughly satisfied until the last 5-10 minutes. It's like adapting that into basically Alien makes total sense, and that's the only story you can tell. It's not quite Doom, but it's close enough, and then it just went completely off the rails for the last 10 minutes. It just made no sense. But Wolfenstein, ooh yeah, Jodorowsky's Dune. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Take his designs. I wonder. I mean, the problem with Jodorowsky's style is it is so off the wall. It is so not quite abstract, surreal, that I don't know that anime could do it. I don't know that anime, I think that anime is a little too conservative for Jodorowsky's Dune, to be honest. It feels, Jodorowsky's Dune just felt so crazy. But yeah, I mean, we've said earlier, I think Dune would be a perfect adaptation source for anime. Yeah, or the Incal. The Incal would work. I have a copy of it over there. But I think Jodorowsky's stuff really fits more like European animation, right? That feels like Time Travelers and what are the other European? Gosh, I'm blanking on the names of. Was it Blue Planet? And there's other weird European sci-fi stuff like Kaiba. Oh, I disagree, Superman fan. I think the 80s were more conservative than they are now. 80s had bizarrely over the top, but it was very specific over the top. Like you could show people blood exploding, but you couldn't you didn't get really weird art styles in the 80s. The art styles in the 80s were pretty firm. But yeah, I mean in the age of Megalobox, I just don't see anime as being all that conservative. Yeah, I mean, Sony certainly could do some connections there. Would Seven Samurai be a good anime? I think it would. Actually, there was a Seven Samurai anime. It was a very loose adaptation. No, I'm sorry. There was a Yojimbo anime adaptation. There was also Samurai 7. So yeah, there was a very loose adaptation of Samurai 7. Or Seven Samurai called Samurai 7. It was basically sci-fi Seven Samurai, which I've not seen, but I've heard very good things about. Like it's like, how do you stretch it out into 26 episodes? That's how you do it. But that would kind of work. Angel's Egg was 80s, but that was one auteur movie. And even then, that was Oshii going off on a deep end. It wasn't a TV series, right? It wasn't the average viewing experience, right? Yeah, Donnie Darko is basically Lane or Boogie Pop Phantom. Yeah, no, I mean, anime has certainly proved they can do zombies with certainly High School Dead. Those first 5 episodes are, to my mind, the most perfect zombie survival horror story I've ever seen in terms of adhering to the formula and investing you in the formula and pulling you along despite the weird erotic stuff in it. That was kind of a, odd spice to add into it, but everything else. Yeah, well, we already have Blade Runner anime, right? We already got the Blade Runner short film. But yeah, I think anime can certainly do zombie films. It's just part of the problem with zombies is that zombies are often the choice of the live action director because you can get a bunch of extras and dress them up. And it's a way of making kind of a cheap horror movie, as opposed to an anime where there's no real advantage to doing zombie compared to anything else. It's kind of harder to do zombie than anything else because you have to, design them, animate them, have lots of different people with different outfits and so forth. It's just it's harder to do, but they can certainly do it. Ghostbusters, yeah. We had Ghostbusters the manga, which was, yeah. I'd see either version in anime. Totally. Of Ghostbusters. I'm nothing against either of those. Yeah, Hellsing. Yeah, they should do a Hellsing anime. A Van Helsing anime. That'd be a good idea. So we stick together. That is like somebody saying, I have never eaten food. What food should I start with? What genres do you like? What kind of do you like comedies, dramas, action, heist movies, whatever? And we can recommend something based on that. Yeah, Pacific Rim. They should do giant robots. They should do a giant robot anime. That would be a great idea. Yeah, Dead Space anime series. There we go. I'm trying to think of other. We have a Halo anime, so that fits. Are there any werewolf anime? Yes. I'm trying because I've seen the imagery. It's certainly not popular, certainly not common, but I'm sure it's out there. I'm blanking on it at the moment. Yeah, Wolf's Rain. There we go. And Wolf's Rain, technically werewolves. They're actually wolves, but right. But you're right. Wolf's Rain is certainly in that general genre. I know I've seen anime of somebody doing the transformation sequence. That's a good question. That's a theme that hasn't really crossed over into anime much. I think it's just more of a Western story concept, werewolves, that doesn't really fit into Asian stuff as well, where vampires, anime has, or Japanese culture has, the concept of supernatural humans who can do strange things to humans, and so it kind of fits. Vampire fits better. Yeah, you're right. Spice and Wolf has a bit of not really, like you say, it's kind of in the same genre. You're right. Wolf Children's totally a werewolf story. Well done, Master Chief. Wolf Children, those are werewolves, straight up. That's probably what I'm thinking of. Wolf Children. Vampires are kind of played out. We had a lot of vampires. We've already had a lot of vampires. We had all the Anne Rice stuff. We had all the Twilight stuff. I'm personally kind of done with vampires and werewolves. Yes, I visited Japan. Did 10 days solo. You like comedy, so recommendation in the chat room. Go ahead and go and throw some things out. I'll go ahead and recommend Child's Toy, aka Kodocha. It's about a 12-year-old girl who's an actress, very over the top, very silly. I think sort of very high energy comedy for Child's Toy. Beyond that, I really like Azumanga Daioh, which is about high school girls. Kind of absurdist humor. Enjoyed that one. Yeah. Well, it's funny. Galaxy Rangers was animated in Japan. And that was straight up animated at, I think, Toei. Well, there are 5 times more zombie stuff than vampire stuff now. But there weren't 10 years or 20 years ago. Right? Like, I grew up in an age when vampires were everywhere. So the vampire stuff burned itself out before the zombie stuff came along. Zombies were the reaction to vampire. Right? The zombies we're sick of vampire, let's do zombies now. So I'd rather not go back to vampires, frankly. I'm done. Witches, I think, are going to be the next big thing. It makes sense, Female protagonists, magic powers. You can go sexy if you want to. Just bet on witches, I would say. Jurassic Park, yeah. I've seen anime with dinosaurs, but it's always been like a time travel thing or things along those lines. Oh, zombies are burning out. They're burning out now. Right? Everyone complains about The Walking Dead. People are rolling their eyes at that. Yeah, Frankenstein style anime. Robot Carnival, it's a film made of segments of things. What do you call that? Gosh. But Robot Carnival it's a series of short films, basically. And that has a basic Frankenstein segment. That would work. If you're looking for that. But yeah, let me see. I mean, anime certainly does delve into the Frankenstein kind of concept with its androids, right? Astro Boy is basically a Frankenstein story. Blackjack, kind of, technically. Twilight Zone. We've certainly gotten Twilight Zone style stories, though. Kino's Journey is basically Twilight Zone. I've not seen Improv Corpses, so I'm not sure. Anthology, that's what I'm thinking of. It's an anthology film. And to that point, we don't get a lot of anthology anime series. Unfortunately. You're absolutely right that I think I would love to see a Twilight Zone style anime series, but for some reason we just don't seem to get anthology stories which are different. Well, I do know why, because it's more expensive, right? You have to design half a dozen new characters for every single episode, as opposed to having a bunch of half a dozen high schoolers who wear the same clothes for every episode, right? So that's unfortunately not something we get that often. The Crow, yes. Yeah, The Crow feels like one of those concepts where if somebody came up with it now, they'd probably say, just animate that. Like, why do that in live action? The Crow feels so anime. That would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing. Something's itching in the back of my mind. There's an interesting one. Redwall and the other, Mouse Guard, small furry animals protecting the world. Stuff that's not quite furry, right? They're not anthropomorphic. They are actually mice and squirrels and so forth. They just, have hats on and swords. Be interesting to see anime do that. There was a Redwall British TV series. But seeing something like that done in anime would be really interesting, because there's so much anime of animals, right? You have all of those, the World Masterpiece Theater stuff, and there have been a lot of kind of talking animal anime back in the 70s and 80s. But it seems like the experience would be there. They could make it happen. And there's enough kind of furry adjacent stuff in anime where you get like wolf children and things like that. Some of the side characters in Gundam Build Divers. I think there's enough expertise there to make a talking animals anime work really well. And then again, you have that thing where you cannot do talking animals live action. It would just be prohibitively expensive to do all the CGI. Just do an anime. Yeah, I'll push back on X-Files personally, because I think the scary thing about the X-Files is the fact that it is, real life. You are seeing real physical people interacting with these things, and you feel like that's going to happen to you. Whereas animation being a little more, at a distance, and obviously we all get invested in anime characters. So I could see X-Files, but, yeah, Outer Limits. Brother Karamazov. I could see it. I mean, we certainly have huge, long dramas in anime. I mean, what is Legend of the Galactic Heroes except a Russian novel, basically just in space? That's basically what that series is. People standing around talking to each other about character number 355. Beetlejuice. You think you could do an anime that's better than the Beetlejuice weekday afternoon cartoon series? You probably could, but that's a tall order. Doing a better Beetlejuice than the Beetlejuice animated series. Back to the Future, yeah. Back to the Future is interesting because, those are kind of one-off stories. I'm trying to imagine I guess if you're doing like a movie, you could totally do an anime movie of Back to the Future. That would work. You're probably not a TV series because there's not really there. Yeah, a Mummy series, I would do Mummy. Yeah, I think the Mummy would work really well. I think a lot of those Again, we certainly had vampires and that stuff. The classic Universal things. Spy thriller, that'd be cool. Yeah, we don't get a lot of those sort of James Bond-esque or Hunt for Red October kind of stories from in anime. It's just not a big thing. Wonder why that is. Well, it's because, yeah, anime doesn't want Japan doesn't want to be seen as Cloak and Dagger, so they downplay the amount of special ops stuff done by the Japanese military. They don't have an army, so yeah. You're right. H.P. Lovecraft would be great. Red Dwarf. Ooh, yeah. Anime, the comedy with the sci-fi. That's such a natural fit. Tonto, well done. Weird science? Sure. I mean, a lot of anime is basically weird science. And that's, isn't that basically, actually there's, My Dear Marie was an anime series about a boy who invents an android girlfriend. Warhammer? Sure. Warhammer is so anime. Warhammer is just kind of every anime trope all thrown together. E.T. anime. That'd be weird. Possible, but weird. What about like a Stranger Things? Like a Spielberg-esque kids thriller / horror story done in anime. I think that would work well. You got kid protagonists, which anime has all the time. Add in the horror, add in the weirdness, do like the Junji Ito collection, make it horrific. Boogie Phantom is basically Stranger Things. It's not, but it's that kind of tone, that kind of feel. Lily Cat. Yeah, Lily Cat is an anime ripoff of Aliens, totally. Alien. Gosh, I haven't thought about Lily Cat in a long time. Felix the Cat remake. A Felix the Cat anime. Wow, that would be nuts. I would so pay to see that. That's awesome. Yeah, Felix the Cat. Gertie the Dinosaur, anime style. That's really cool. All right, on that note, I think we've gone through a lot of stuff. So yeah, we want to see everything done in anime. I think that is just kind of our idea there, is we get all of those things. So we'll see what anime. We'll probably see something out of the anime industry that's an adaptation of something sooner or later, especially as there's more correlation between the two sides. There's more reason for that, so we'll see. But thanks for the great debate. We'll see you all next week with another interesting topic. See you then. All right, I need to go in and set up in the other room for the Otaku no Cooking. Just make absolutely sure. Debate, news, review. I think those are all the segments. StarCraft would be nice. Yeah. Space Marine story. Just do something very gritty and grounded. As we should have delved more into kind of what we like to see in those. What would that story be? Maybe next time. Maybe we'll do this topic again soon, and do some options. So I'm going to show you a what do I have set up here? Not that. Not that. That. Oh, the review of Miss Hokusai, which is perfect. It's like 4 minutes, 5 minutes. So I'll show you the review, and then we'll switch over into RoboCop. I'll switch over into the kitchen. So I'll be back in just about 4.5 minutes. Welcome back to Otaku no Video. As always, thank you very much for joining me. Where today I'm reviewing the anime film Miss Hokusai, a recent anime film about the daughter of the legendary artist Hokusai and her experiences in kind of life in general back in the 1800s in Japan. First off, you have to understand, this is about Hokusai's daughter. It turns out she actually drew much of Hokusai's actual artwork. She lived with him, and he was very much devoted to his painting and didn't necessarily, fulfill all of his obligations as a person in general, and needed someone to look after him, and so she did that, but also picked up how to draw and would either make or finish some of his commissions for him. importantly, this is an art house film. It's not an action film. It is reasonably historically accurate, and as a biopic, it is more about what that time was like in Japan, the early to mid 1800s. Actually, the mid 1800s in Japan, when things were changing, and where society was often a difficult place for certain people. There were a lot of expectations on people, particularly artists and particularly fathers. And this film is about what it is like living in that environment. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that there's not much in the way of a giant action plot here. Nobody fights dragons in this, except possibly of the sort of internal, kind. So, yeah, this is about living in a particular moment, again, early 1800s, not mid, actually, in Japan as an artist, with somebody who is a complicated figure. Hokusai was obsessed and difficult to live with in a lot of ways, and so this film explores that. The animation as such is lovely and effective, but not flashy. Hokusai is famous for his restraint and his ability to communicate so much in such simple lines and simple artwork. So while this absolutely has all of the talent and all the skill of a high quality Japanese animated film, it's not. So I screwed up. The recipe requires some rice, and I forgot to pre-cook it. And I'm not going to sit around for half an hour cooking up some rice. Well, it wouldn't take that long. But I'm not going to sit around here while I cook up some rice. So I think it's best if I just push that off till next week. We'll just do a talking and cooking that next week. That's fine. That's my fault. I just completely forgot to do that. I should have put it on the list. Should have put a reminder out there. But that is not going to happen. So that's fine. It's been a long week for me. I think we've gone through a lot of material here tonight, so that's okay. So we'll do rice burgers next week, but that's gonna have to be it for tonight. So thank you all as always so much. This is a great great discussion, great night. Hope this was helpful to all of you, and I will see you all next week. We will be doing Kit Bash tomorrow night, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, which is what, 4 p.m. Pacific, I think, because I want to finish up that perfect grade. I plan on spending like 4 hours on Kit Bash tomorrow night, like 7 to 11 my time, and just get through, essentially all of that perfect grade Stray. So FYI, and then video game on Sunday. I'll probably be finishing Never Alone, and then Monday night D&D. So sorry, but I may be premiering a new show on Monday night or on Monday. I can't do it Monday night because I'll be at D&D, but I might be able to do something before or afterwards with you guys. So we'll see how that works out. But thank you all very much, and again, regular schedule next week, drawing inward, everything else. So again, sorry about that, but we'll be back with more stuff pretty much every day moving forward for the next little while. So thank you all. Take care. See you next time. Happy anime.